Section 1-5 today. So chapter 1, the 5th section, we're going to be talking about using some formulas in geometry. Hopefully these two are super familiar to you. The first one we're going to talk about is perimeter. And the second one we're going to talk about is area. Bless you. You can tell me the main difference between perimeter and area. Right. Perimeter is the distance around the outside. And the area is how much fills up the inside. Okay? So we call it perimeter when the sides are straight, like what we call polygons. So triangles, rectangles, pentagons, hexagons, octagons, decagons. But when it's a circle, it has a special name. What is the special name for a circle? Circumference. All right, so let's see if you guys know some of these formulas. So this first figure is a what? Rectangle, right? We've got a length, we've got a width. So it has a perimeter formula and it has an area formula. Perimeter formula, if you're using length and width, would be what? How many lengths do we have? Two of them. So we're going to do 2 lengths. How many widths do we have? 2. So 2 widths. 2 lengths plus 2 widths. Or you can write L plus W plus L plus W. You'll get the same thing. That will get you the perimeter. How about the area? How do you find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. You want to multiply them. So for perimeter, you add them. Area, you multiply them. All right. This is a little square. All right. And we'll call this a side. So I'll put a little S there. You could treat it like a rectangle because it technically is a rectangle, but since it's a square, all 4 sides are the same. So you can do 4 times the side. And for the area, you can do side squared. Then we've got a triangle. Triangles have 3 sides, right? So we'll label them A, side B, side C. So for a perimeter, you would just add those 3 sides, A plus B plus C. They could all be the same if it was an equilateral, but usually it's a scalene. You're going to have all 3 different side lengths. Then there's an area formula. So we'll call this down here the base, and we have to dash in the height. And you're going to do base times height divided by 2 for the area. Okay. All right, so let's calculate some perimeters and areas. First, let's start with a triangle. So example number 1, we're going to find the perimeter and we're going to find the area of the following triangle. This triangle is going to have a little box right here, so it's called a right triangle, meaning it has a 90-degree right there. And I'm going to give you some measurements. We're going to have 6 inches down here, 5x inches right here, and x plus 4 inches, whoops, over here. Okay? So first, let's find the perimeter, and then let's find the area. Okay? So for the perimeter on our triangle, we do what? Add the 3 sides, okay? So let's start with the easy one, the 6. And then we've got a 5x. And then we've got the third side, which is x plus 4. Okay, so if they just gave you all numbers, it'd be super easy. You'd just add them all up and you'd say it's how many ever inches and you'd be done. But in this case, you've got some algebra in there, right? So the only difference is you're just going to combine like terms, right? We've got a 5x and a 1x. You can draw a 1 in there if you want. You don't have to. That's going to combine to get 6x. And then we have two numbers, the 6 and the 4. So those combine to get 10. So we're going to say 6x plus 10, and it was measured in inches. All right. Now for the area, we want to do the base times the height divided by 2. So the base and the height are the two sides that aren't what we call the hypotenuse. Okay, so we'll call, bless you, we'll make this the height and this the base over here. So we're going to multiply 6 times the x plus 4. And then the formula calls for us to divide by 2, which is the same as multiplying by 1/2. Couple ways you can do it. You could distribute that 6 here and here. Or I see that 2 goes into 6 evenly, right? How many times? 3. Now all I have to distribute is the 3. So I have 3 times x, which is 3x. And 3 times 4, which is 12. So we have 3x plus 12. Can I combine those two? No, they're not like terms. And when you calculate the area of a figure, you give your answer in what? Inches squared. Inches squared. Put the little 2 in the air, or you can write out the word squared, whichever you prefer. All right, I'll move this up. You'll see it in just a second. There it is. All right, let's try a circle. So example number 2. We're going to calculate the perimeter for a circle, but it's not called perimeter, it's called a what? Circumference, okay? So for circumference, you're going to need a special formula. Anybody know the circumference formula for a circle? There is a pi involved. It's 2 pi r. Sometimes people like to use pi times the diameter, but I think 2 times pi r is easier. You're giving me area. What did you say? Pi r squared. Yep. Okay, so let's do the circumference first, but we need a radius, right? So radius goes from the center to any point on the circle. This one is 8 centimeters. And we're going to write our answers 2 ways. So we're going to leave it in what we call terms of pi and to the nearest, what do I have on here, tenths, and to the nearest tenths. Okay, so let's do circumference first. I'm going to start by writing the formula. So circumference, I'm going to use the 2 pi r. For area, I'm going to use pi r squared. Okay? So all I need to plug in is that radius. So 2 times pi times 8. And I know that 2 times 8 is 16, so I have 16 pi. This is the answer in terms of pi because I've simplified everything except for the pi. Okay? And then your answer is centimeters. So that's the first answer. Notice there's an equal sign there because we're about to get the answer to the nearest tenth, and that equal sign is going to change. So here's what happens. When you turn your calculator on and you type 16 times, and some of you may not know this, but on your calculator, on your scientific calculator, there's a pi button. So you type in the pi, it should show it on the screen. Oh, there it is. I had it tilted the wrong way. Then you hit equals, and then you get this big long decimal, okay? We're not going to write all of those decimals. We're going to approximate it, which makes this equal sign wavy, okay? Whenever you round, you change that equal sign to a wavy equal sign. Whatever's in front of the decimal stays, so there's a 50 out there. And then after the decimal, we want to the nearest tenths. Right now there's a 2, but next to it is a 6, so it's either going to stay a 2 or go to a 3? This one's going to go to a 3 because any number that's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 makes it round up. So in this case, it's going to be 50.3 centimeters. These are the two answers you want there. Okay, so the first one is in terms of pi, and the second one is to the nearest tens. Okay. Now let's calculate the area. We've got the pi, the radius is 8, we want to square it. So 8 squared is 64. So 64 pi is our answer in terms of pi. And this one was centimeters, so we're going to say centimeters squared. Now we're going to punch it into the calculator. So this time I'm going to go 64 times the pi button, hit the equal sign, change it to wavy, because I'm going to definitely round. In front of the decimal, I have 201, so that never changes. Bless you. After the decimal, I have a 0, so it's either going to stay a 0 or round up to a 1. Is it going to stay or round up? Round up, so it's going to go to a 1. And that one is in centimeters squared as well. And there are our two answers. All right. Finish copying that down, and then let's look at your worksheet. Now in the notes, I did the hardest problems because I assumed that rectangles and squares that you don't necessarily need help with, right? Perimeter, you just add the sides. Area, you just multiply. So if you need help with those, let me know. And I will be glad to help you. All right, so let's look at first your worksheet. So there are two sides. One side says 1-5. That's today. That's Thursday. Flip it over to the back. You're going to see 1-6. We're going to do that one tomorrow. Okay. If you're super bright and you want to go ahead, go for it. But today we're going to focus on the 1-5 side. Bless you. All right. Please fill in your name up there. Today is the 6th of September. This is period 3. All right. The first 4 questions are your fill in your blanks. Okay. Numbers 5 and 6, they want you to get the perimeter and the area of this rectangle right here. So you can look at your formulas in the notes, but most of you know you just add all the sides for the perimeter, multiply the sides for the area. 7 and 8, you've got a triangle, so get the perimeter and get the area. Numbers 9 and 10. In a circle, a blank is a segment that passes through the center of the circle and has its endpoints on the circle. Well, we drew a radius. This goes all the way. Anybody know what that one's called? It's like double the radius. Diameter. Yeah, go ahead and fill that in. Thank you. A radius of a circle, a segment whose endpoints are the blank of the center of the circle. The diameter of a circle is blank twice the radius. Okay. All right, number 12. Sketch a circle and label the center, a diameter, and a radius. Give the formula for the area of a circle in your notes. The circumference of a circle is the distance blank the circle, and give the formula for the circumference of a circle. That's easy. You don't even have to calculate the area of a circle. All right? That should be pretty easy. Okay? If you are working on that in class and you have any questions on it, just let me know. I'm assuming you don't have any questions on it unless you ask. Okay, so today we're going to add another ed puzzle. We're going to add 1.2. Put a box. So when you have them done, put a check mark. I give 7 days to do them. If they're not done by that time, it's a 0. So make sure you get them done. Put a little check mark. Okay? And obviously, the Delta Math for Unit 0 has a deadline of tonight at what? 11:59. Okay? So get as far as you can. Okay, we need to talk about the due date on here. So on here,